Hello, my name's Aannsha and today we're going to make a little Easter basket that we can put some chocolate eggs into. We're making it by felting some wool rovings. What we have is we have a resist which we're going to be wrapping the wool around so that we can create a pocket in the felt. And obviously we've got wool rovings here. We've got a sushi roller and also a net. I've got a little kitchen implement here which I'm going to wrap in bubble wrap, which will make a good tool to help the felting process happen. And this here bubble wrap is going to go between the towel and the project. So let's get started. So this is bubble side up. And here's the resist. Now this resist is about 7 inches wide. I just put a plate around it because when the felt is made and it shrinks a bit, I want it to be about the size of this bowl. You will also be wanting to use some soap. I've got some olive oil soap here that I made, but you can also use washing up liquid or dishwashing soap because that helps to open the fibres up in the wool and they all hook together, and that's what makes the felting part. And then we're going to work it really hard and that will full it, it'll shrink, but it will make a really strong, durable little basket. I'm just going to cover to about here. So we've got the resist inside the wool so that it creates a pocket, and then we're not wasting all that wool on the top. This is going to need 4 layers on each side. So with this wool, which I got from Spotlight, it's honestly not the best wool rovings. I would prefer to work with merino wool. This is all I could get my hands on at short notice, so but look, it's going to do the job. So just tease it open a bit like that because it makes it easier to pull, and then just pull it gently like that. We're going to put lots of fine layers on, and that will encourage a more even finish. We're going to overlap the edge slightly because we will be turning it around. And I just want to make sure that it's evenly covered. I'm going to put some wool wrapping around the bottom as well, because we need to wrap wool around the whole of the resist. Now you can probably see that this is uneven, so I'm just gonna, oh look at that, I've got something. There we go. So all right, and that's, look at that, see there's an empty patch there, so we'll stick that there. Alright, so I'm just going to put a little bit of, this is hot water, I'm just going to get some of the soap in the hot water like that. And then I'm just going to sprinkle some over the wool. A little piece of plastic. I'm just going to make sure that that wool is saturated, and then I'm going to layer. Okay. Don't it like sopping wet, because I found that some people like to make their projects really, really wet. I found that there's a happy medium somewhere that works best for me. You need to get the wool completely wet, otherwise it's not going to felt easily. Right, so that's that. One. So now I'm just going to flip this easily. And I'm going to pick up the edges. You want to make sure that it's really tight against the resist, because otherwise you'll end up getting ridges around the edge and that will be a bit obvious. The next layer on the other side. So we're going to do the same. Wet it. Now you can use one of those fancy sprinklers that you see people using, you know, like a bulb with or you can use a plastic bottle with holes that you poked in the cap, but I find this is just as easy, just as efficient. Again, I'm just using some reused plastic from the bubble wrap actually, because I don't like to have too much plastic in my house. So this is the plastic that the bubble wrap came in. Now I'm just going to pull that down a little bit. Okay, so it's a tad on the wet side. That's okay. So we're just going to quickly turn that over. And we're going to do the same. We're going to pull this outside wool as close to the edge as we can. Bring it down a bit. I'm going to take this from underneath. And then I'm going to start layering maybe different colours. So perhaps we'll have some purple at the bottom. Now, it was laid that way last time, so what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to lay it perpendicular, so at right angles, and that way you get a really cohesive piece of material. Actually, I'm going to, when it all felts together. If you have it all in one direction, it's not, yeah, it doesn't, it'll shrink in one direction as well. This way it'll shrink in even directions as well. Really makes the job easier if your hands are dry. There's a different colour purple in here, so I'm going to use that next. Take out any vegetation that you might find in the wall. If you pay for premium wool, you probably won't have that issue. Now, when you felt this, some of the colours will come through from the underneath layers, so that will give a lovely dimension to the different colours that you've got. Repeat the process. Probably doesn't need too much water because the other layer was already wet. Right, so we're going to flip it, and then we're going to bring the edges up. Now I'm just going to take this off there. Get a sponge just to mop up some of that excess water. Doesn't need to be sitting in that. Alright, so we started off with the purple. And again, we're doing this one this way as far as possible, because it's at right angles to the wool that we laid last time on this side. These little sections that we're pulling off, they're called shingles. I think because they're a bit like the shingles that they used to use to make roofs out of in the old days. So a little bit more of this. I'm gonna back over there, squash it all down again. So that's actually 2 layers on each side now. So we're going to flip it. And then we're going to do what we did before, making sure that there's no extra bits hanging off the edge of the resist. Okay, so design. Are we going to do the same colours? I think so. So we went that way, so now we're going to go this way again. Because wool is naturally happy in an acidic environment, so think vinegar, that's acidic. When you put water on that has soap in it, soap is alkaline, so it stresses the fibre, and that's actually what causes the wool to the little hooks on the wool to open up. Alright, so that's good. I'm going to flip this. Cool. And we're going to do the same. Now this is the last little amount of purple of the mauve that I've got here, so I might be substituting a different colour when we do the fourth layer on each side. Be a nice excuse to make some kind of design with different colours on the outside layer. And flipping it. Okay, so using soap on your hands actually helps the wool not to stick to them when it's wet. Okay. Now, all right, so we've got green, we've got a bit of blue, we've got lots of purple, and we do have red. So what are we going to do? So this needs to go this way now. And I think some nice light green. A little bit of pink, but not too much. What are we going to use here? We're going to go, how about we use a bit of vibrant red, make a nice contrast. And then we do have purple, so we'll keep the purple, I think. See, it's already really wet anyway, so I think that is, oops, going to be fine. All right, so we're going to flip it. Unwrap. Right, so this is going to be the last one, and can you remember what colours we used? All right, we used a bit of what was left of this. So you'll notice that we're not really overlapping this time because we don't need to. You may find actually that some of it goes over the edge, but we can just wrap that round. So I'm going to just shape that edge a little bit, and then I'm going to flip. You know, those little stray edges up. Right. Okay, so now we're ready for fun part number 2. It's just tuck that in a little bit. Now, so what we're going to do now is we're going to get the netting. I'm going to put it over there. Get a goodly amount of soap on your hands, and then just start. Now that's really wet, so I'm going to get a towel and I'm going to soak up the excess because that's silly. So to start with, you need to be really gentle with it because it needs to be encouraged. So I like to use lots of soap because that does encourage it to felt. I'm going to put that under there. If you're sensitive to soap, or if you do this a lot, just wear gloves. Now I'm just making a point of firming up that edge. And the more you work it, the firmer you can be. Now what I'm going to do is oh, look at that. See, it's starting to felt because there's nothing coming off as I pinch it. So I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to do the same on this side. So again on this side, just make sure that you spend time on the edges. Okay, so I think let's just give it a test. If you pinch it and wool comes off, it's not quite felted enough to do the next stage. So keep going. Cool. Right now. So now what we can do is we can wrap it in some bubble wrap. Roll it up. This is actually a little bit, almost too big for this, but just now what we're going to do is we're going to sort of roll each side about 30 times. Right, and then we're going to flip it and do the same the other way. So what with the bamboo mat and the bubble wrap with the bubbles towards the felt, you're putting a bit of friction on there. When you've done that, you want to turn it at an angle, quarter turn. So basically you want to roll it both sides in all 4 directions for the piece, and that way it will felt evenly. Now you see how this is starting to curl? That's a good sign because it means that it's actually felting. And see how the edge is already just very nicely rolled on itself. So I'm going to take this off and I'm just going to do this again in 4 directions on both sides. Right, now flip it over, do the same on this side, 4 times, 4 directions. Okay, so it's well and truly shrinking. See how that's smaller. And here we have a bowl shape. So what we can do now is, that's a bit big right now, so what we're going to do, notice that the sides are a little bit higher here, so I'm going to spend a bit of time rolling in this direction, because it shrinks in the direction that you roll it. So in order to get the sides even all the way around, I'm going to just roll this a little. I'm going to put this bubble wrap back here. And you can also, like, because it's a wonderful material, it's very flexible. You know, they used to make felt hats and all sorts, so you can actually shape it in the way that you want. You know, you can put little ridges in there if you wanted. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same with it inside out, just with the pressure in that higher part. See how it's a lot more even now? And you can pull the other bits, the other sides up. So we're going to just keep working this inside and out so that even the inside of the bowl is felted really well. You know, all the inside layers. So, where's that? It's part of a hamburger making thing, but it's perfect for this, look. So if you want to make it with a nice flat bottom, start flattening it like this, and you will see how the shape changes, because when it dries it will hold its shape. See, isn't that great? Go all the way around the edge, just working it as it's lovely, isn't it? So I'm going to keep working with this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get some really hot soapy water. I'm going to put it in there, well actually a bigger bowl. Extremes of temperature help to shrink the wool. It just stresses it. So I'm going to get some really hot water. See, not that hot, that'll burn myself. You know, you can do all sorts. You can throw it. Anything that just stresses the fabric, the fibres. So a bit more alkaline. And you know when it's fulling, which is the sort of where it becomes like a really actually waterproof fabric, because it starts to get a lovely sort of mottled bobbly effect. So again, if you want it to shrink evenly, try and do the same movements on every side of the bowl. It's a bit furry, it's because of the material. Yeah, I actually quite like the sort of wide rimmed look, shallower wide rimmed look. So I'm going to go for shaping it like that. Now you can use a glass or a mug or something if you haven't got one of these. Alright, so there you have a lovely bowl. So now what we have to do is we have to rinse all the soap out, and then we're going to let it sit for a little while in some water that's got vinegar in it. So off camera I'm going to just rinse this. That's the bowl. So now what I'm going to do before I finally shape it is put it into a bowl of vinegar and water. I don't have any cleaning vinegar at the moment, so I'm just using apple cider vinegar. Little glug, and then I'm going to let this just soak. So if there's any soap left in that material, the vinegar will neutralize it and the wool will be happy because it's in a slightly acid environment. So I'm just going to squeeze this out, roll it in a towel and just give it a good squeeze. Okay, and then I'm just going to reshape the bottom and the sides. So this is where you can actually pull the edges to how you want them to be. It's a very simple little bowl. We'll make a nice gift. It's kind of like a basket. So I'm going to put that outside to dry, and here it is, a little bowl that contains felted Easter eggs and chocolate eggs. These are the little eggs that I felted last year. If you'd like to see how I felted the Easter eggs, check out the video that's on the screen now.